Hello and welcome, everyone. Good morning. It is day 2 of our Manifest Love 3-day challenge, right? So come on in, make yourselves comfortable. You can find me, I'm over at Facebook and I'm on YouTube. So go ahead and chime in and let me know who's here and where you're from. And if you were here yesterday, how'd you do on your homework? Did you do it? Yesterday was all about fun and just visioning and imagining your ideal person. Today, we're going to kind of get into the nitty gritty of the work where we are in day 2 of align with our desires. So that means we're going to be doing some clearing. Let's just put it there because we're going to start out a little slow today and get you up to that point, right? If you have not already downloaded your Manifest Love Journal, and if you're new here today, let me put the link in if I can. Let's see here. Oh, and the Roomba just started. Ruh-roh. Okay, let's see. No, that's not the link. Let me try that again. Okay, so we are using the Manifest Love Journal as our slideshow so we can match and go along and you can do the work together. We can do this and get this done. This is how I used to work when I was a school teacher. I never trusted people to do their homework. So we just did it all together. So that way I knew that they would know what's going on and pick up what I'm putting down. And then it's usually way more fun than we realize, actually. Hey, Olivia, good morning. She's back for more. So Olivia's intention is to bring some love and romance into her current marriage. So whatever your intention is, we honor it here. If it is a brand new love, bring it. If it is spicing up your current relationship, bring it. If it's for friendships and finding your tribe, bring it. If it's self-love, which I would include with all of the above, bring it, right? We are bringing it. We are really conjuring up the vibration, the energy of love. And it is the highest vibration on the planet. It heals everything. It busts through the darkness and creates light. Love is light, right? And so when we bring this to ourselves, to our families, to our communities, to the planet, we are doing some amazing work. So I know that we're focused on ourselves right now, but trust me when I say that when you're doing this work, you are becoming a beacon, a lighthouse, an energy that has no bounds. So it's going to spill out on everybody around you. And guess what? We need that right now, right? So cheers, good on you for doing this work and not getting caught or stuck in the grind of the what is, because no, that's no fun, right? I'd rather have fun. Our time is limited here, at least on this little planet. Who knows about the rest? I feel like we are eternal. That's my belief system. But anyway, so let's look at our homework from yesterday. So yesterday we were all about the ask, and the ask has to do with just sharing our desires. It's like, what is it that we want? That's the most powerful question you can ask yourself. So what do I want? What do I want in a relationship? So I did my homework, and so I want to share what I got. Not that mine is right or wrong, but I want to just give you an example of what it's like to build your Frankenperson, right? And so I used famous people so that you guys could get a picture of what I'm doing. So I wrote down some other words too that we didn't use necessarily yesterday. And feel free to chime in the chat your words and your descriptions and your Frankenperson and what are they and who are they like and what are the things that you would like to see. So I also wrote down playful, a good sense of humor, quirky. I really like people who are serious, like seriously genius in their particular area. I remember falling in love so many times in college when I saw my professors up there just shining because they're talking about the thing that lights them up, right? It's something that is near and dear to their heart. That to me is the most endearing quality in a person that I can imagine. The one of the persons that I dated for a long period of time, he was a farmer, and he would pull over in the, in the rural areas of California where all the almonds are growing, and he would just see dirt and have to pull over and put his hands in it and go, "Oh my god, the soil, look at the soil, it's so rich." I love that. Now other people might think it's a little cray, but and that's okay, because we're creating our own individual Frankenpersons, right? So I have a combination of my Frankenperson, a lot of people, but I'll just narrow it down to the top four qualities that I like. So we all know Javier Bardem, right? So he is my physical person. He has the physical traits that I find to be extremely desirable in a person. Handsome, gorgeous, right? His stature, his height, his coloring, his masculinity. He's all that and a couple of bags of chips for me. So he's my physical type. And then I have Cooper from Twin Peaks. I love that quirkiness, that nerdiness. Like he's such a gentleman and he's into metaphysics, right? So Cooper is one of my ideals. Plus, he's very handsome. So I love a handsome man. And then there's Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, and even Gregory Peck, who played him. Combination of the two there. Handsome, tall, very fatherly, good dad, very gentlemanly, but very virtuous and very interested in helping the social cause and social justice and standing up for what is right. I love that too. And then my last one for this list was the character that I fell in love with when I was in college. His name is Mr. Knightley, and he was the main one of the main characters in the novel Emma. And he was kind, he was proper, he was total gentleman. But the thing that I loved about him is that when his friends wanted to behave badly, he would call them out. He would say, "You can do better than that." So he was a good accountability partner. Now I have no idea what he looks like because I read the book, and so in my imagination, though, I saw this very stoic, handsome, amazing gentleman. And then I did the math, and I pulled some common traits that they all have. None of them are necessarily funny men. I'm not attracted to a funny man, but I like a man with a good sense of humor, right? My son is funny enough. That's quite enough. He's like the Adam Sandler of the family. That's quite enough. And so I like a reserved, gentlemanly type of person who can take the back seat, but he also commands the room, right? So these are the things that when I sat in my quiet, in my mind, and imagined all this stuff, that's what came out. And so when we're in that place of that intentional imagination, the TV is off. We're taking a time for ourselves, and we're conjuring, we're imagining. That's the stuff that is really going out into the universe. That's the stuff that is the magic. That's the setting the spell, so to speak, right? And that to me is the most fun part of the process. So today is probably the most work when it comes to the art and science of manifesting, and that is aligning ourselves. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. Please, feel free to chime in and also ask your questions. This is a good time to get some coaching if you would like it. So aligning is all about checking ourselves, checking our mindset, exploring what we say to ourselves, what our belief systems are, much of the time, I would say majority of the time, we're running on these beliefs and thoughts without questioning them anymore. They have just become little passengers, so to speak, in our minds. And I would challenge all of us to check our passengers because they've been sitting there for a long time and maybe they're not valid anymore. We need to put them to the test and perhaps throw them out or file them away or put them to rest, bury them, whatever we need to do. Pardon me. It's getting cold in here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my Manifest Love slides, which is your journal, so we can follow along and do some exercises. We're going to do some more fun exercises to keep the energy going when it comes to the manifestation, the person, the Frankenperson, the desires that we're wanting, so we can bring them even more before we start to do the plucking, right? So grab your journal. And here we go. So we are, oops, I did not get this queued up. This is all the stuff we did yesterday. Here's your notes for today that you can write down for your alignment. You can do that during or after, whatever works best for you. And so one of the powerful exercises that I love to do, once I have my vision, once I know what it is that I want to create or to allow or bring in, right? I do the acting as if. What I have started to call this recently is a future now party. I love having future now parties. I've had a couple live stream future now parties since the new year. And a future now party is really just acting as if. And so we can imagine ourselves a year, 2 years into this new change in our relationship, this new change in our lives. And then we can pretend, we can look back as if we're looking back and talking about how my life has changed. Wow. And we put it all in the present tense. We were like, I am so happy and grateful now that I'm so happy and grateful now that there's more spice and romance in my marriage, and we have a date night every week and he surprises me with these amazing trips that I'm just like, whoa, blowing my mind. I've been here, I have done this, I have gone there. We have mended our relationship tremendously. We're so in love. We're more in love than we were when we first met, so this is your opportunity to act as if and to see it in the future the way you would like it in the future. This to me is also a lot of fun. I love doing this. So we talk about your feelings, how you feel. I feel so alive and so sexy and so in love and so healthy in this partnership. I feel accountable. I feel like I want to do more for this person. I didn't even know I had this kind of energy. This is so amazing. I'm so inspired, right? Um, and then you can talk about how much your life has changed today. So you can start thinking about this, maybe jot down a few notes, but definitely get into this in the quiet of your day later for your homework. A very fun process. And as you're acting as if, you're in the visualization process as well, right? So you're seeing it, you're feeling it, and you're just anticipating. So you're having these expectations of better and more. So too often we settle for the what is, and then we become complacent, like boiling frogs in water. We adapt to this level of meh, but we didn't sign up for that. However, we have to do a little bit of work, right? To change the energy, to get the energy going in the direction that we prefer, and not waiting for it, guys, not waiting for it. This is the proactive part of the work. It's not like we have to go and do everything, but we have to activate this, and it's free and it's easy and it's private, right? So there's no excuses really, because it's just a mental game is how I see it, an emotional mental game. So here we go. I gave you another acting as if, so you can fill in your own blanks and just play with that, just an extra. And then here is an exercise you can do tonight too, when you're daydreaming, when you're visioning. And also, I know that uh, most of you are moms, and I had this vision yesterday that, when we see our kids in that daydream and they're just checked out, and you think, hello, wake up. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let them daydream. We have, in our culture, in our society, we have created this pressure for our precious children to adult and to grow up. And I'm just like, stop it. Stop it. Let them dream. That's that's where the magic is. And the more they are a dreamer when they're little, then they can continue to be a dreamer. And that is my story. I loved books. My imagination was always activated. I was always reading. I loved that. And never once did my father say, put that book down, or stop daydreaming. He used to say, and so I was raised in this environment. He called me Bubs. He says, Bubs, you can be whatever you want. So I had this confidence, this knowing as a very young person that I can be whatever I want. And then I saw all the things that I wanted and I was doing, and I was like succeeding and doing all this stuff in school, and I loved school. And I saw the evidence of that. I'm like, yeah, okay, he's right. I can be whatever I want. So a little tip to the moms out there: encourage your children. Do not put the adult curse on them too soon. That'll come in due time. Let them dream. And then when they're dreaming too, you can talk to them and say, oh my gosh, you look like you are dreaming up some really good stuff. You want to share that? What's going on? And encourage them to dream and to see bigger pictures and say, wow, you know what? Anything's possible. You can do that. And then let them, stew in that. I'm seeing it's such a sad state that I notice more in the parenting world, where we're just putting the kibosh even more on kids than when I was younger. We used to play all day and come in when it was dinner time, when the sun went down. And it's like, all right, let's trust our children. Let's let them play. Let's let them imagine. Let's let them dream. And they will get their stuff done when they get their stuff done. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents. Tonight, I want you to do a typical day in love, another visualization where you're just like, all right, what my typical day looks like now. And this is in your future, like a year or two from now. So, again, you're going to imagine, my typical day in love. Oh, I leave a little note before it, or in my partner's bag, dropping some sort of love bomb. And then I feel so empowered, so great. I can't wait till they get home from work. What excites me about this life now is that I'm doing everything with my best friend. This is so cool. I get to go travel and explore and have a great time. And then the advice that you would give to the old you that thought that this wasn't available, that you couldn't have this. What advice would you'd probably say something, wow, you should have done this a long time ago. Look at what you've created. Look what always was available to you, right? You could have had this all along, Dorothy. Click those heels. So those are just some ideas. You're going to come up with your own, of course. And then another fun exercise for you to do is your relationship bucket list, right? So all the things that you would love to do with your ideal person, with your partner, with your husband, with your spouse, with your person, all the things that you want to do before you go, right? Like, okay, we need to take a trip to Peru. I want to see Machu Picchu. Make them big, make them small, do all the things. So this is going to be a working list. So I would keep this one out and just keep adding to it, as it goes by. And then when your person, if they're not here yet, And if they are here, they can add to it as well. But then when they show up, you can share this with them and you can add both of your relationship bucket list things. Because of course you're going to attract somebody who loves this work, right? All right. Maybe, maybe not. All right. So this is where we get into the meat and the potatoes of today's topic. Limiting beliefs, right? So this is where we do some weeding of the garden. So we have already planted our seeds. We have created this beautiful garden of our expectations, our desires, and knowing that those desires, those seeds are developing into something. They are, so we trust that process. We plant a watermelon seed, we're going to get a watermelon when the environment is correct, when it's aligned, when it's healthy. So this is what we're doing today. We're going to check our soil and make sure that we are healthy, that we have healthy soil, and that we're going to pull any weeds that we need to pull. And so this is a process. This isn't a judgment. This is something that you're going to do continuously, probably for the rest of your life, just because you're a human. And as humans, we have a tendency to collect, weeds, negative thoughts, different beliefs that don't sustain us or don't fulfill us. There's a lot of noise, right? And we're also vulnerable, and we're delicate, so our feelings get hurt, things change, things might scare us, frighten us, and then we take that in. So know that this isn't a one and done, and it doesn't have to be a big, hard thing. It's just another part of your energetic hygiene, your self-awareness hygiene. So it's something you're going to do forever. And sometimes we have to do a major overhaul, but I think that most people who are in this audience have already done a lot of work. And so now we just tend to the garden and do some weeding here and there as needed, right? We're never going to be without them. And so this is our opportunity to check ourselves and to know that we are fallible, we are imperfect, and that is perfectly okay. So we just do a little work to keep everything moving and going, right? We're never expecting perfection, but we know that we can make things really, really ideal and healthy for ourselves, right? So we're going to look at some limiting beliefs about love. So I want you to think about things that you have told yourself about love in the past. And I want to look at my notes here on some examples. Like some of you might be saying that love is hard to find. I always get hurt in relationships. No one is ever really, truly faithful or loyal. And so no matter how much you're visualizing your ideal person, your Frankenperson, your subconscious mind is pushing it away, right? So these are your blockages, those thoughts, those weeds. They're blocking the growth, just like the weed in the garden. If you have too many weeds in your garden, your stuff's not going to grow, right? It's going to get eaten. So it's just simply time to shift those thoughts. So we can look at your patterns. So one thing I do know for sure, another thing I know for sure, is that we are running on patterns. And patterns are just simply repetitive things that we do over and over. That's all a belief is. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over and over until it becomes what you call a belief. So we can change all of those. We can look at our patterns and we can change them. We can shift them. We can decide that, oh yeah, I see my pattern. I see that I used to do that all the time. See how I phrased that in the past? I see how I used to do that all the time. Well, I know better. I'm going to do better. So I'm going to shift that pattern. How can I shift that pattern? Well, awareness is like 90% of the cure. Because when we're not aware that we are repeating a pattern, we are doomed to repeat it again. So awareness is everything. And then how we treat it moving forward is, uh, you know, it's up to you. Everybody's going to have their own processes. I'm pretty good at, when I recognize myself in a pattern, I'm really gentle with myself. I used to not be gentle with myself, but I'm human. We're all human. There is no place for self damnation or ridicule or anything like that. So when I see myself, I call it stepping in it again, like I stepped into a big fear thing with politics. I admit that. I acknowledge it, and then I'm like, help me get out of this. I don't like this pattern that this person triggers in me, right? And so I had to do some work on the pattern and recognizing it and going, okay, is this real? Is my fear real? Or is it, the false evidence appearing real? That's what it is. It's false evidence appearing real. So nothing means anything except for the meaning that we give it. And so I decided to give it different meanings. I decided to look at things differently. I decided to create a new pathway and a new pattern and decided to get into my bubble and to bring the light. And that's the easiest, the best thing that I know how to do, right? So when we're looking at our patterns and relationships, the things that don't serve us, we can look at our doubts, our fears about love, the things that we have told ourselves in the past, and we can clear it up. We can get to a place where we can acknowledge that it is a part of us. It's part of our upbringing or wherever that came from. We don't have to get angry about it. We don't have to really, we can just acknowledge it and say, well, that's not true. That true? Let me check. Are all the good ones taken? Let me see. Mathematically, statistically speaking, we can ask people, but it's kind of an easy one. It's like, of course, all the good ones aren't taken. And then what does that mean, good ones? What does that really mean? So exploring the stuff that you're saying to yourself that is getting in the way. What's another common blockage that people have? That he'll never change. He'll always do the same stuff. Well, whatever you believe, so ding, as you wish. But I see people change all the time. So I don't even like that saying. I see people changing all the time. And when there's enough pain or enough uh, enough going on in there, people change like overnight. They change in a second. They change in a flash. I've seen people who are, addicted to all kinds of drugs, who are near death, switch in one thought, one day, 1 second, and that changes the trajectory of their entire lives. If they can do it, we can do it, right? It's all about making decisions and using the leverage of pain or the consequence that we don't want. Going, an example for me is like when I have I can like allow myself to get heavy in my weight, and then I get to a certain point, I'm like, no, and then I'll do something about it. I will change my mind, I will change my diet, I will change everything in a heartbeat. So people change all the time. So if we tell ourselves that'll never change or that goose is cooked, then that's what you are creating and allowing and believing, and so that's going to be the reality. So it's really important that we check our thoughts, check our beliefs, and go in there and do some work around filing it or burying it. I used to do this one activity where I haven't done it in years, but I used to live in Long Beach, California. So I have this vision of the pier that I used to like to go to. And anything that I didn't like or that I wanted to change, any kind of patterns or people or places or circumstances or whatever that I didn't want, I would do a Dexter, right? And I would put it in a plastic bag in my imagination, and I would walk to the end of the pier because I don't have a boat. But I didn't even imagine having a boat. I didn't need a boat. It's like I can just walk to the end of the pier and then just drop it into the ocean, right? So there's all kinds of different rituals that you can do to help change uh, file away the things that no longer serve you, right? And so I think if you have like a method that you do, and or a few methods that you do, burning the stuff in your imagination or in real life, then when these things come up for you, it'll be really easy for you to treat it. It'll be like, oh, it's time to take a walk in the pier. Oh, it's time to, get the fire going out back. And so then all this stuff doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, I'm doing it again. It's just like, oh, it's time to clean house. It's time to do a little spring cleaning. It's not that big of a deal. And I see people just put too much pressure on themselves that they're supposed to be perfect and their mindset's supposed to be perfectly aligned. Well, maybe in the next life, but in this one, we're dealing with our humanity and it's never going to happen, right? So now we just figure out the tools that can help us the best to keep our gardens as weed free as possible, right? Gentle, gentle. Okay, so let's look at our what are all these notes coming up? Okay. Limiting beliefs about love. So do some exploration in here in the quiet of your own mind. And let's get those written down so that we can change them up. And maybe we can even do the opposite of them. And how these things have blocked you. A lot of us are very aware. We're very aware, once we think about it, of the things that we have said to ourselves and the beliefs that we had and how that kept us from a certain thing or a certain person. Um, yeah, I remember I dated a boy in college and I came from such a broken household, thrown out when I was pretty young. I was on my own at like 16, pregnant at 17. I felt really broken. I just felt like nobody wanted me, dejected, rejected. And then all of a sudden, this really handsome man, young man, in college wanted to date me. We dated for a little bit, and then he took me to go visit his family. And his family was like this perfect, in my eyes. I know they weren't perfect, but in my eyes, it felt like the perfect family, mom and dad, kids, family dinners, everything intact. And all it did was break my heart. And I thought, I am going to ruin this person. I don't know how to be in that. I don't deserve that. And so I told myself all this stuff and I was really afraid that I was going to ruin him or contaminate him somehow. And so I broke it off. And that's one of my biggest regrets because he was a really amazing, awesome person. And I never had the self-worth or the confidence to explore that. I just had to blow it up before he found out how damaged I was, right? And so that was a limiting belief that I had for a very long time, which probably explains why I do the work that I do now, because we all have these big, little, it doesn't matter, size doesn't matter, to get ahead of these thoughts and get ahead of these beliefs and clean them up so that we can live better, we can manifest better, we can love ourselves, we can be these amazing points of attraction, right? And create a world that we really love. But it really does start with checking what's going on in here, right? So yeah, I had to do a lot of forgiveness work, self-forgiveness work, all that. So here's a easy little exercise that you can do. You can think of this is about reframing, just reframing. And so when we reframe or do affirmations or anything like that, you may not just automatically believe it, but it's a part of the system of changing the script, rewiring the brain. Excuse me. allowing for something else to occur in our realities, right? And I remember Dr. Phil used to say, fake it till you make it. Um, it's kind of like that, right? So we can take a negative, like all the good ones are taken, and you can put in the positive, oh, there's plenty of good ones still available. And then what is a good one, right? That's your definition. You can take the negative of relationships are hard. That's one that I had for a very long time. Relationships are hard work. No thanks, right? And then you can say, no, relationships that are correct, relationships that are aligned are easy, easy peasy, you know? It's easy peasy. We're in sync. We're in we're compatible. Everything is working, flowing easy and sweetly and nicely. I have experienced that. So of course I have the proof. I know that you have experienced that and you have the proof as well. Now, is it always going to be like that? Relationships involve two people. So there's always going to be room for improvement and all of that. But to claim or declare that relationships are hard, you're setting yourself up for hard work, and nobody wants hard work. We want relationships to be the dessert, the pleasure, the fun, the bestie, the hanging out. And if we have to treat it like hard work and bam, 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 then I'm not, maybe that's what some people really enjoy, but it's not what I enjoy, right? So this is an opportunity for you to look at those negative things that you have been saying in the past and do the opposite, switch them up and let those become your new affirmations. All right. And so today we're going to be working on, or tonight, or whenever you have the time to do this, you're going to do a very mindful exercise of releasing the things that no longer serve us. Imagine if I still walked around with those thoughts about myself that I had when I was in college. My life would be a mess. I would never have had relationships. I wouldn't be the person. I would just be a totally different person than I am today. Of course, it was the contrast that got me there. So I'm grateful for that. I know I had to go through that, but the contrast of it got me to this new place. And I wouldn't change it for the world, right? But doing the work all these years, we have to release some things. We have to release some thoughts. We have to even release sometimes some people or some circumstances that are blocking us and in the way. And when I say that, you know exactly who or what that is. It'll just go bing, you'll know. It's like, oh, I need to stop doing that, or I need to stop seeing this person, or I need to stop saying this, or it would help me if I changed my belief system to something that's more supportive and productive, right? So today you're going to really spend some time in changing your mindset, your beliefs, and exploring them and weeding them. So imagine yourself in a garden. Excuse me. Imagine yourself in the garden and you're not mad at the weeds, but they're there. And so you're just going to pull them out and you're going to say, what's this one about? What's this one about? Does it serve? Is it helping me grow? Or is it blocking the progress? And then you can just check it. You can file it away. You can put it in a little box and put it on a shelf. You can handle these things however you like. I'm kind of a minimalist. I'm very much a minimalist. I don't like a lot of stuff. So I have a tendency to just toss it. Now, that might be a little too rough for some people because they have attachments to things. And if they need to put it in a box and put it in a vault, then do that. Whatever floats your boat. There's no right, there's no wrong way of filing away or cleaning up your mental file system, right? I have a tendency to just burn it down. It's like, well, I don't need that anymore, check, gone. That's easy. So find your way, your method of doing your filing. Okay. And so then you're going to let things go. And then you're going to, how do I feel about letting this go? Do I want to let it go? Are we hoarding some stuff? Are we really being so attached to old beliefs that we just want to be right because we want to be right? What's going on in there? This is a really um, big and deep opportunity to do some self-exploring and to see what thoughts that you have attached yourself to, and then you can just let them go. You can release them. And here's why I do this. You guys know I do mediumship work. I have majority of the people that I've connected with on the other side, I hear the same kind of message over and over and over from majority of them, like, wow, if I knew that, I would have never attached myself to that. I would have never done that. Like, that was dumb, holding on to grudges, holding on to resentments, having certain ideologies, uh, because when they pass over, their perspective is just larger, and so they can see the bigger picture, and then they just see that those things that they really held on to, those belief systems, really kept them stuck and blocked and kept them from really flourishing and thriving, right? So we want to not do that in this lifetime. We want to mitigate those weeds as much as possible as we go along. So, tonight's exercise, go deep, get in there. What are your belief systems about love, romance, marriage, partnership, all of it? Get it out there and then challenge yourself. Is that still real? Do I still feel that way? Is there evidence to support that? Am I making this up? What am I afraid of? Get in there, dig deep, and you will find some stuff out about yourself. And then you'll be able to let it go and have a releasing ceremony, as a result of that. And it's really easy, guys. You don't have to get hung up in, did I release it? It's just a simple, let it go, wash your hands clean of it. Okay. So when you do finally come to a place of realizing that this stuff doesn't serve you, you know, releasing it or letting it go is as easy as that. Don't complicate it. I work with the most lovely people on the planet, but the one thing that I see that is very common is that people complicate the heck out of this process. Like, they think that there has to be some sort of long, drawn out process. I'm telling you, it's as quick as that, right? And it could crop up again, and that's okay. That's where I have that process of myself where I go, oh, oh, Charlene, you stepped in it again. You silly girl. I love you so much. What is that about? Oh, patterns and habits. Of course. All right. Well, let's steer the boat in this other direction, shall we? Because we know what we're going to get if we keep on this path, and it's not good. So let's get onto a path that um, we can feel more empowered by, right? So this is all, for me, it really is a mental game. And I like games. I like to play. I love my imagination. I like to use all these tools that are here and free. I don't have to, spend thousands of dollars at a therapist office talking about my childhood. I've already done that. I've already done all the work. I've already done all that stuff, and I don't find it to be very useful anyway. It's just like, that was then, this is now. Of course, we're carrying the programming, and so we have to do some work, but it doesn't have to be that drawn out. I'm telling you, it can be a lot faster. It can be a lot more graceful. It can be a lot more easy. And just by, having a good mentor, having a good coach, having a good teacher, taking classes like this, and examining yourself, your thoughts, your beliefs is everything. It just starts with checking your own mindset and doing these activities that we have here. So, does anybody have any questions or comments about the process that we're doing today, which is aligning ourselves? All right. So, tomorrow, our focus is going to be on the allowing. We're going to get into a more fun, light place of allowing. Allowing is cool. So, I'm going to give you some really practical tips and tools that you can do to check your receptivity, to create your space to allow, and to stay in alignment. Uh, you have already put out your requests. You have already planted your seeds. You have already designed your garden. You have already called it in. And now we are going to manage our soil, manage the environment so that everything can grow and everything can come to us. All right. So Olivia says you're awesome. Thank you. I love this work. Thank you, Olivia. I love the validation. I love you too. And I just appreciate you being here so much. You're always showing up. I know that you're always sharpening the saw. So I expect good things as a result of that because the law says. All right. Thank you guys for being here with me today. I will see you back here tomorrow for day 3, where we get into allowing, and it's going to be fun. You're going to get some really great tips to continue the process and to keep your garden just looking spotless, and little tricks that you can use like fertilizer and things like that to even increase your crop. All right. So until then, take good care. Much love to all of you. Peace and blessings. Bye for now.